Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to those of you around the world. Welcome to the daily Trade the Chain crypto update, where we give you everything you need to know for the next 24 hours and hopefully the next few days. Currently, we're looking at the chain sentiment dashboard, and we're seeing a lot of red to neutral. We, of course, have some outliers. Polkadot, I think Axie Infinity was a big outlier this morning as well. But unfortunately, Bitcoin hourly and daily sentiment both bearish to neutral for both Bitcoin and Ethereum, which is not entirely positive to start. Unfortunately, trading volumes and tweet volumes are down pretty largely across the board as well, which does not imply confidence moving into the end of December. So looking at Ethereum daily sentiment, we can see it's a bit of a flat line in that neutral to sentiment area. We have tweet volume down nearly 40%, trading volume down 40 to 50% compared to 30-day averages. So we wrote about this in the newsletter today. This is implying potential downside volatility if this does not improve. And very similar for Bitcoin. Of course, we've had some humps in bullish territory, but they've been rejected each time. And we'll check out the price charts to see exactly what's going on with this motion. But you can just see from the sentiment chart that it's but the blue price line, it's up, and then it's begun to flatten. And of course, we had the rise in the swing failure pattern last night, and it dipped back into the trading range. So we'll review that in just a second. But tweet volume is down 19%, and trading volume is down 40% compared to 30-day averages for Bitcoin as well. So not entirely confidence inducing, very similarly to Ethereum. Looking at a bit of a macro risk gauge indicator, we can see that last Friday DXY closed beneath the trend, but quickly recovered, opening up last night and into this morning. We are now back into the range. So a bit of a swing failure pattern there as well, potentially. You also have potential bullish divergence forming on DXY, which would imply a risk off trade is coming up soon, especially if this can get back above, a 105, which is obviously the lower end of the range, as well as above the 200-day moving average, which will end up probably around 105.6, 105.7 by the time the DXY reaches there. So if we can flip basically that 105 level into support, the XY will end up likely rising into, up here again, back up to, around 108.8, 109. And then we'll have to make another decision. So, of course, that's tentative. We have to close above 105. We also have to confirm 105. So, could potentially still be a multi-day process. But if this does come back into the range, Bitcoin, Ethereum, equities probably likely get hurt a little bit if that happens. So looking at equities, which is, our weather vane for risk in general, very similar to what we'll see for Bitcoin and Ethereum. Swing failure pattern up started on Wednesday, started to trickle and decline on Thursday. Friday, slight recovery, and then we have just dropped pretty much like a rock since late last night when futures opened again. So, looking at all the color on the screen, actually I'll zoom out, just get a bit better of a perspective of where we're at. Basically on a bullish trend since October 13th, starting to get to the top of that trend. Rises are becoming less violent, less volatile. Coming back into the range relatively quickly. This does look like it's topping to me. We did have, 4160 outlined as potential future resistance, as well as 4130. And it does seem like it's going to be a bit of a difficult grind to get back up there. Now, can we? Certainly. Especially if we have, we hold here a little bit, around 39.95. we dip back to the trend, and then by Tuesday or Wednesday, we are, potentially rising higher. And then, of course, that can break down right around that 39.60 to 39.70 level. You could also potentially have, a bit of a swing failure pattern here before it rises up. Or you just, drop to here, and then we're back down towards the lower end of the range by the end of the week, which would be about 3,900 to 3,910. So basically, if you cannot hold 4K, you really want to be able to hold that 3,970 to 3,980 level. If you cannot, then it's looking likely back down to 3,900. And if we head back down to 3,900 for equities, you know that Bitcoin and Ethereum are probably not in a good position as well. So very, very bearish looking trajectory here. But of course, we know that we have support at 39.90, and then right around 39.70 as well as 39.60. So we'll have to see how it reacts. And there, I would not be surprised if we're talking tomorrow and price either bounced at these levels or is hovering around these levels by the time we revisit this conversation the next day. So looking at Bitcoin, to give you a bit of a zoom out. Very compressed range here that we've been in for pretty much all of November. Of course, we had the drop the first week of November, but for all intents and purposes, for the better part of a month, we've been stuck underneath 17.5K. And it looks like it's going to continue to be a grind to get above that. So basically, what's happening here, in my view, is we don't want that. What's happening here, in my view, we busted above the range, which was 17.1, 17.2, depending on exactly where you're looking, and we had a swing failure pattern above the range, and we're rejected at the 200-day moving average on the 4-hour. Not exactly positive. One rejection is not the end of the world. 2 rejections likely would be. So we're really at odds on whether or not we want to break down or retest the 200-day moving average in some way, shape, or form. I would likely say it gets rejected, but of course it really depends on what DXY, the dollar index, and US equities do. So zooming back in to see what is going on in terms of Bitcoin, we are more or less reset in terms of hourly RSI, but of course can still drop down lower. This lower end of the range I've had my eye on since we broke beneath the top of the range this morning around 10 a.m. Eastern. And so it would not surprise me to see price back down here and then ping pong around in some way, shape, or form. Of course, if you want to break this range, you have to flip 17.1, 17.2 into supports. And if you break the range, you have to flip 1700, 16.9 into resistance. So given how much we've liked this range dating back to early of last week, it would shock me to just completely leave this range without some sort of crazy move by DXY or equities. And of course, equities, we know are at that precarious position. So given equities don't look very strong and Bitcoin has not tagged the lower end of supports, which will likely coincide with the 1-hour 200 moving average by the time it makes its way down there going into this evening into tomorrow, it would not shock me to see Bitcoin at 16.9. As we move into the end of the day. Now, of course, it has to, flip 16.9 into resistance to move lower, and it's more likely that support holds in some way, shape, or form for at least maybe an attack back to 17.1. But we know where resistance and support lie for those types of trades. Looking at Ethereum, a little bit different of a view for Bitcoin because we're still kind of more or less in the range that we were in early to mid last week. No real true swing failure pattern, but of course, 1300 to 1250, 1260 is the range that we're trading in. And of course, we are at the lower end of this range and we tagged the high end of the range previously. So it would make sense that we probably maybe re-tag this, come back up here, maybe re-attack the highs, and then make a decision there. Of course, very similarly to Bitcoin, we have to flip 1300 into support to move higher, and we have to flip 1255 into resistance to end up moving lower. Given the wide variance of this range, we did a swing failure pattern here. And given the fact that Bitcoin may end up tagging this level still, I'm not going to count out that we see Ethereum at 1230 by the end of today or tomorrow. If that is the case, then I would definitely expect a bounce at this level. I would probably be pretty shocking to see it slice below 1230, but of course, flip 1230 into resistance, and then you can begin moving lower. So I'm not very bullish on Ethereum or Bitcoin for the time being, but I do think they will see a bounce after they confirm the next levels of support, which for Ethereum is 1255 and 1230. And for Bitcoin is, of course, 16.9 and then 16.7, which are valid areas of the range dating back to Tuesday for Bitcoin. The big things to look out for this week, and we'll discuss this later on, but it's producer price index, which is obviously basically inflation for producers. We had PCE last week, and we have CPI next week. So we have some big data coming up on the heels of Jerome Powell saying that he's going to slow down rate hikes. So I think the market will likely probably trade in some sort of holding pattern until those data points release. But of course, depending on how equities move, if they slice beneath these support levels and beneath this trend and end up heading lower towards the next support levels 3,900, 3,750, etc., then of course we will see very much bearishness from Bitcoin. But I would expect some sort of holding pattern, maybe reattack recent highs as we progress throughout the week. And I have a feeling that Bitcoin and Ethereum will more or less follow equities based on what DXY does. So good luck, happy trading. We will of course see everybody again tomorrow, and please reach out if you have any questions in the Trade the Chain community. You can go to tradethechain.com and get a 14-day free trial and join the global community of traders that we have, where I release data morning, noon, and night, and we always discuss trade ideas, fundamentals, whatever's going on in the market as well. So see everybody tomorrow, and good luck with your trades until then.